For generations, the quest to uncover the truth behind Noah's Ark has gripped the minds of explorers, archaeologists, and believers alike. What was once considered a myth or a spiritual allegory might be on the verge of turning into a historical revelation. The turning point came unexpectedly, not in some remote excavation site, but in the quiet attic of a retired British Royal Air Force veteran. Hidden away in a dusty box was a clay tablet, weathered and fragile, estimated to be around 4,000 years old. Its markings were unlike anything seen before, and while deciphering its cryptic symbols took several painstaking years, some experts believe this ancient artifact might hold the clues humanity has been seeking for centuries. Clues that could finally point to the true location where the legendary Ark came to rest after the deluge described in the book of Genesis. For those who have long believed the story to be more than symbolic, this discovery brought fresh hope and a sense of urgency to re-examine what we thought we knew about one of the Bible's most enduring tales. This renewed wave of interest gained further momentum when a team of dedicated researchers unveiled what could be one of the most groundbreaking pieces of evidence to date. Using advanced three-dimensional imaging technology, they revealed detailed visuals of a mysterious object nestled deep in the Arab mountains of eastern Turkey. The structure bore an uncanny resemblance to the biblical description of Noah's Ark, in size, shape, and position. Surrounded by rocky terrain and snow-covered peaks, the location matched the ancient writings that spoke of the Ark resting atop the mountains of Ararat. For hundreds of years, this tale had remained shrouded in mystery, often dismissed by scholars as myth or allegory. Yet, here was a structure, real and tangible, lying undisturbed in the wilderness, waiting to be understood. The story of the Ark and the Great Flood is one of the oldest and most dramatic narratives in the Judeo-Christian tradition. Found in the book of Genesis, it tells of a world consumed by wickedness, where violence and corruption had tainted nearly all of creation. According to Scripture, God's sorrow over humanity's descent into evil led to a momentous decision, a global cleansing. But in the midst of this impending judgment, there was one man who stood apart from the rest, a man named Noah. Scripture says he walked in righteousness and found grace in the eyes of the Lord. Because of this, Noah was chosen not only to survive the catastrophe, but to preserve life on earth itself. The divine instructions given to him were precise, almost architectural in their clarity. He was commanded to construct an enormous vessel, not a simple raft, but a seaworthy structure of tremendous proportions, capable of withstanding torrential rains and violent waters that would cover the earth. The Bible specifies that the ark was to measure 300 cubits in length, 50 cubits in width, and 30 cubits in height, dimensions that translate to roughly 450 feet long, 75 feet wide, and 45 feet tall. It was to be constructed out of gopher wood, a type of timber believed by some to be especially durable and rot-resistant. Noah was told to divide the ark into rooms and to waterproof it thoroughly, coating it inside and out with pitch. These instructions, found in Genesis chapters 6 through 8, portray a God who was not only grieved by human sin, but also deeply invested in offering a path toward renewal. This wasn't merely a story about destruction, it was about survival, obedience, and the hope of starting again. Despite the vivid details and the dramatic narrative, for centuries, the world debated whether the story of the Ark was literal or figurative. Could such a massive ship have existed? Was there truly a flood that covered the whole earth? Was Noah a real person, or just a moral symbol in an ancient allegory? These questions have lingered in theological circles, historical debates, and even scientific discussions. Explorers throughout history, from Marco Polo to modern mountaineers, have ventured into the highlands of Turkey, driven by ancient texts, oral traditions, and scattered clues. Some returned with tales of strange formations resembling a boat-shaped outline in the mountains. Others found petrified wood fragments buried under layers of earth and ice. Yet no discovery had offered definitive proof, until now. The recent revelations, sparked by the forgotten tablet and the advanced imaging of the site in Turkey, have breathed new life into the age-old mystery. News outlets picked up the story, discussions flared across social media, and television documentaries began to re-examine the clues. Even skeptical archaeologists took notice, intrigued by the convergence of scriptural description and tangible evidence. And just when it seemed like excitement couldn't get any higher, a group of researchers claimed they were granted access to the interior of the mysterious structure. When they carefully opened what they believed to be the entrance, what they witnessed inside was so astounding, so eerily consistent with the ancient accounts, that many were left without words. Was this finally the moment where faith and science shook hands? As the buzz continued, debates unfolded among historians and scientists, religious leaders and secular analysts. Was this really Noah's Ark? Was the Great Flood a global cataclysm, or a massive regional event memorialized by early civilizations? Could humanity have carried these stories across generations not as fables, but as records of real survival? One article, which quickly gained traction online, made the bold claim that archaeologists believed they had found the actual ark resting near a sacred mountain mentioned in ancient texts. This wasn't just another story buried in time. It was now a matter of international curiosity and growing conviction. Before diving deeper into the evidence and continuing with this extraordinary journey, make sure you're subscribed to our channel. That way, you won't miss the next chapter in what could be one of the most astonishing biblical discoveries ever revealed. The design of Noah's Ark, as outlined in the ancient scriptures, wasn't just practical, it was deeply symbolic. According to the biblical account, the ark was to include a single entrance, a solitary door through which Noah, his family, and all the chosen animals would enter. This lone doorway has long been seen as a powerful representation of divine salvation, a metaphor that illustrates there is but one path provided by God for redemption and safety from judgment. The interior of the ark was to be structured across 3 distinct levels, which many scholars and theologians believe served multiple purposes: to house the variety of animals, to store essential supplies, and to provide living quarters for Noah and his family during their time aboard the massive vessel. It was a structure not only built for survival, but one designed with divine intention, order, and foresight. After years of obedient construction, Noah completed the ark, adhering to every divine specification passed down to him. What followed was a moment as mysterious as it was miraculous. The animals, male and female of every kind, began arriving without being summoned, as if guided by an invisible hand. Then, a pivotal moment occurred that would be forever etched into the pages of sacred history. The book of Genesis tells us that once all who were to be saved were safely inside, the Lord shut him in. These 5 words, simple yet profound, describe a divine act of protection. It wasn't Noah who sealed the door, it was God himself, emphasizing that the preservation of life and the unfolding of divine will were entirely in his hands. This detail, found in Genesis 7:16, continues to inspire awe among believers and scholars to this day. For countless centuries, people have gazed at distant mountains and ancient texts, wondering the same haunting questions. Where did Noah's Ark finally come to rest after the waters receded? Could such a colossal vessel have withstood the ravages of time? Might it still exist, hidden beneath layers of earth, snow, or stone, waiting for someone to uncover it? Interestingly, Noah's story isn't exclusive to the Bible. Ancient accounts from cultures across the globe echo similar themes. The Epic of Gilgamesh, one of the oldest surviving literary works from Mesopotamia, speaks of a great deluge and a man named Utnapishtim who built a vast boat to survive a divine flood. This tale, penned on clay tablets long before the Bible was compiled, bears striking similarities to the Genesis narrative. Some scholars argue that such parallels suggest the biblical account borrowed elements from older myths. However, others see it differently, pointing to the consistency of flood stories across civilizations as evidence of a shared historical memory. If cultures from opposite ends of the ancient world tell of a catastrophic flood and a lone survivor tasked with preserving life, perhaps it speaks to a real world-shaping event that left an imprint on human consciousness and tradition. One of the most talked about individuals in the modern search for Noah's Ark is Ron Wyatt, a self-taught archaeologist and adventurer whose bold claims made headlines in the late 20th century. During the 1970s and 1980s, Wyatt conducted numerous expeditions to the rugged region around Mount Ararat in eastern Turkey. He reported discovering massive wooden beams embedded in rock formations, which he believed were remnants of the Ark itself. While many in the academic and scientific communities dismissed his findings as unverified, his work sparked a renewed passion for exploration in the area. What some saw as speculation, others viewed as a spark, a call to look deeper, dig further, and question what we think we know. Wyatt's claims gained unexpected support from experts like Dr. Arthur Brandenberger, a geologist who took a closer look at the supposed wooden remnants. His assessments suggested that these ancient beams bore the characteristics of age and preservation that one might expect from a structure buried for thousands of years. He argued that the conditions of the region, the dry climate combined with periods of volcanic activity and glacial preservation, could have contributed to the beam's longevity. In addition to the wood itself, researchers uncovered unusual carvings and inscriptions on nearby stones, markings that some believe indicate the location's significance as a place connected to an ancient flood. These symbols, although not fully understood, have added weight to the theory that something monumental might still lie hidden beneath the mountain's surface. Mount Ararat has become the epicenter of the modern-day Ark hunting movement, and for good reason. Towering and formidable, the mountain stands watch over the Turkish landscape like a guardian of secrets. According to the Bible, it was somewhere within this range that the Ark finally came to rest when the floodwaters receded. Adventurers from around the globe have attempted to scale its slopes, often braving extreme weather and treacherous terrain in search of any sign that might confirm the biblical narrative. Some claim to have seen strange shapes beneath the snow, while others have reported finding petrified wood or unusual formations that could match the Ark's dimensions. Yet, a definitive discovery has remained elusive. One theory proposes that the Ark may lie buried beneath thick layers of volcanic rock, a result of Ararat's past eruptions, effectively sealing it from view. Others suggest that dramatic climate shifts over the centuries may have caused the Ark to sink deeper into the earth, its remains occasionally revealed when snow and ice melt away. These natural processes, over thousands of years, could explain why tantalizing clues appear only briefly before vanishing once more beneath the mountain's icy shroud. Despite the intrigue, many mainstream scientists remain skeptical, cautioning that without verifiable, repeatable evidence, claims surrounding the Ark's discovery must be treated with caution. Still, the passion surrounding this search refuses to fade. New expeditions are launched each year, armed with better tools, more sophisticated imaging technology, and fresh enthusiasm. But for many, the pursuit of the Ark is not just about physical evidence. It's about the deeper meaning that the story carries, a message of hope, faith, and divine protection. The Ark, in biblical theology, represents far more than just a boat. It is a symbol of God's mercy amidst judgment, a beacon of grace in a world overcome by chaos. It reminds believers that even when destruction looms, God provides a path to salvation for those who listen and obey. This spiritual dimension is reflected in the writings of the New Testament as well. In 1 Peter 3:20-21, the apostle draws a connection between the Ark and the sacrament of baptism. He writes that in the days of Noah, God waited patiently while the Ark was being prepared. In it, only a few people, 8 in all, were saved through water. He continues, explaining that this water symbolizes baptism, which now saves believers, not by cleansing the body, but by pledging a good conscience toward God through the resurrection of Jesus Christ. In this way, the Ark becomes a prefiguration of Christ himself. Just as the Ark offered refuge from the storm, Christ offers redemption from eternal judgment. The mystery surrounding Noah's Ark may still linger unanswered, but it continues to stir curiosity, debate, and devotion across the world. The claims of Ron Wyatt, the geological insights of Dr. Brandenberger, the traces of fossils, the markings etched into stone, they all add layers to a story that refuses to be forgotten. Perhaps the final resting place of the Ark is closer than we imagine, hidden just beneath the surface, waiting for the right eyes to see and the right hands to uncover. Until then, the search continues. a journey of faith, science, and the eternal hope of finding truth where heaven and earth once met. And still, the search continues, tireless, unwavering, and fueled by a blend of faith, curiosity, and hope. Generations have come and gone, yet the allure of Noah's Ark remains as powerful as ever. For those who dedicate their lives to uncovering hidden truths, the possibility that this ancient vessel may still lie somewhere, preserved beneath layers of earth or ice, is more than a dream. It is a calling. Perhaps one day, through new discoveries or divine providence, the final pieces of the puzzle will fall into place, and the mystery that has endured for millennia will finally be revealed in full light. Until that moment arrives, the Ark continues to exist not only as a potential artifact of biblical history, but also as an enduring spiritual emblem. To countless believers around the world, the story of Noah's Ark is far more than an account of wood, dimensions, and water. It is a powerful reminder of divine mercy, a testament to the unshakable protection of a loving Creator who, even in times of immense judgment, makes a way for life to continue. It speaks to the idea that even in the midst of overwhelming darkness, when all seems lost, God's hand remains steady, offering refuge, renewal, and redemption. The Ark stands as a symbol of that promise, of His ability to shelter the faithful and carry them through the fiercest storms. And so, the tale lives on, not just in ancient texts, archaeological speculation, or distant mountains, but in the hearts of those who still believe that salvation, like the Ark, is real and enduring, waiting patiently for the moment it will be revealed once more. And so the quest presses on, not only through rugged terrain and treacherous mountainsides, but within the deeper corridors of the human spirit. The search for Noah's Ark, though focused outwardly on uncovering a physical remnant of the past, is just as much a reflection of humanity's longing to understand its own beginnings, to reach back through the fog of time and touch something eternal, something divinely ordained. What makes this search so enduring, so magnetic, is not merely the curiosity about ancient engineering or geological possibility. It's the whisper of something sacred, a narrative that has outlived kingdoms, empires, and even entire civilizations. Despite countless expeditions and evolving technologies, no one has been able to definitively say, "Here it is, this is the Ark." Yet with each generation, new voices rise to take up the mantle, fueled by the belief that the truth must be somewhere just beyond the next ridge, under the next layer of stone, or in the corner of some long-forgotten cave. And with each new discovery, whether a fragment of ancient wood, an inscription that speaks of a flood, or satellite imagery revealing a curious formation in the mountains, hope is rekindled. It is a hope that refuses to die, a flame that burns even brighter with time. But even if the physical Ark remains elusive, its symbolic power has never been more present. In a world often shaken by uncertainty, division, and despair, the story of Noah offers a message that transcends all borders and beliefs, the promise that mercy is real, that divine protection is possible, and that new beginnings are always within reach. In the stormiest chapters of life, when everything seems to be collapsing around us, the Ark becomes more than just a ship. It becomes an anchor for the soul. Consider the timing of the story. According to Genesis, the world had reached a point where wickedness was so widespread, so consuming, that God could no longer allow it to persist. And yet, amid that widespread corruption, one man stood out, not for perfection, but for faithfulness. Noah didn't build the Ark overnight. He didn't receive a miracle that made the task easy. He labored year after year, likely mocked by neighbors and doubted by friends. But still, he obeyed. He listened. He prepared. And because of that obedience, life was preserved. Creation was given a second chance. This theme of second chances reverberates through Scripture and into the lives of millions today. We live in a time where storms, both literal and spiritual, rage all around us. Natural disasters, wars of ideology, personal loss, and internal battles are as real now as the flood was then. But the same God who gave Noah a blueprint for survival continues to offer each of us a path to hope. In every moment of darkness, there is still a door, a way in, a way out, a way forward. That's why this story endures, not because of its ancient setting, or because it makes for captivating headlines when a new artifact is uncovered. It endures because its core truth remains as relevant today as it was thousands of years ago. That even when destruction looms, God is still reaching out. That even in judgment, there is mercy. That even when the world is drowning, salvation is not only possible, it is promised. In the New Testament, Jesus himself refers to the days of Noah as a warning and a call to awareness. He said that just as people were eating, drinking, marrying, and living as if nothing would ever change, so too would the coming of the Son of Man be unexpected. This connection draws an even deeper spiritual thread through the story, that the ark was not only a refuge from water, but a symbol of being ready, of being found faithful in times of trial. The ark, then, is not simply a historical question, it is a spiritual mirror. It asks us, are we prepared for the storms that may come? Are we walking in faith when the rest of the world is drifting away? Are we building something, a life, a family, a faith, that will endure when the floodwaters rise? Even science, in its ever-evolving quest for understanding, has begun to recognize patterns of global flood myths, geological upheaval, and sudden climate shifts recorded in sediment layers. While many remain cautious, some admit that the convergence of ancient stories and physical evidence is compelling, at the very least worthy of deeper study. But perhaps the real discovery isn't found in mountaintops or clay tablets. Perhaps it's in the human heart, in the realization that the truths embedded in these sacred texts are not bound by time or location. Because what matters most is not where the ark landed, but what it represents. A sacred covenant between God and humanity. A reset. A divine declaration that even when the worst has happened, life can begin again. The rainbow that appeared after the flood wasn't just a pretty symbol. It was a vow. A promise that God would never again destroy the earth in that way, and that His mercy would remain available to those who seek it. As we reflect on the many theories, discoveries, and debates surrounding Noah's Ark, one thing becomes abundantly clear. The story's legacy is far from finished. Whether the Ark lies buried beneath the slopes of Mount Ararat, or whether it has long since deteriorated into the dust of time, the impact of its message continues to ripple through generations. It teaches us that obedience can preserve not only ourselves but those we love. That preparation in times of peace is what saves us in times of chaos, and that the grace of God is always available, even when the sky grows dark and the rain begins to fall. So, the journey doesn't end here. The mystery continues to beckon the faithful, the curious, the doubters, and the dreamers. And who knows, perhaps in our lifetime, or in a generation yet to come, someone will uncover undeniable proof. But until then, we walk by faith. We study the past, but we live in the present, holding on to the eternal truth that the story of Noah's Ark is ultimately a story of love, of divine protection in the face of devastation, and of renewal when all seems lost, In the end, the Ark reminds us that the storms of life do not have the final word, that mercy triumphs over destruction, and that when we trust in something greater than ourselves, we too can rise above the flood.